What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, we'll break down some very important news about Tesla and talk about what I think is likely going to play out over the next couple of weeks to the stock. I'm also going to talk about some very important levels to watch for and what you should be looking at going into the month of July as it just started for Tesla. Before breaking things down about all this information, before I talk about what's going on with the technicals, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Anyways, now let's talk about Tesla. What's going on with the share price? Tesla is starting to show some weakness from a technical standpoint, and this is just based off technicals in the present time. Now, Tesla had some good news that came out on Friday about Mercedes joining in with the whole supercharger network. And we didn't really see Tesla react too much to it. Tesla got a nice pop. It only hit like 280. Then Tesla ended up rejecting from there and started slowing down with the markets. Now, you could infer that Tesla's starting to make lower highs, basically, because when you look at it, it is like in these ranges right here. So you could draw out trend lines here and draw out these ranges. But its high used to be around 284. Then the high went to 283. And then the last high it made on Friday was around 280. That is a bit concerning for a lot of the bulls out there. And that's why, from a technical standpoint, it is looking more bearish overall. Now, for tomorrow specifically, I made a video about Tesla for just tomorrow. So if you want to learn more about just tomorrow, we make it a very sideways day with all the Fed speakers and etc. And I have a video. It's my second to last video. It's called Tesla, my Monday prediction, basically. But this prediction video is more about the next few weeks and less just about the very short term for the markets. So what's coming out is Tesla may get some sideways price action. And we have CPI coming out on Wednesday. That's going to be very telling for the stock market. So be very careful with all of that data dropping. That's going to affect Tesla as well. But if we just kind of like let go of all these different individual catalysts that come out every single day, from the Fed speakers to data dropping to unemployment data, we just ignore that and just look at the technicals. This is what they could be suggesting: Tesla potentially coming down to cool off a bit and retesting about 270. I think it's very likely that's going to happen. It could break below that, and we may see the Tesla continue to drop because there's a lot more short volume on Tesla than before, and the dark pool volume is starting to go up. So that is, in a way, kind of like suppressing Tesla to some degree, and it's simultaneously starting to downtrend more and more. As Tesla it trends down, this entire gap right here could be acting as a magnet. We also have this gap support around this like 265 area. So I think 270 is most likely going to be tested over the next couple of trading days. And then, as this trend is suggesting, we're likely going to break below it and retest 268 and potentially 265. Now, 265 would be the support right here. So you're going to be watching this very carefully. This support right here, 265 area. And then this gap would be filled all the way down to like 260. The 262 is, I believe, very close to that. 262 to 263. It doesn't matter that much. Gaps don't always have to be entirely filled at once, and we could always try to fill it later on. But for the time being, I think there's a chance Tesla may get closer to filling it as the trend is looking a little bit weaker right now. This is not just based off TradingView. I was looking at like many different platforms, looking at different indicators that are suggesting that. I broke more of them down in my video from earlier today. But I just want to note that there's a good chance it's going to cool off a bit, right? But that's not the end of the world for Tesla. It's not really like done from there, because I believe after this week is over, after like the selling off is done, the sideways price action is out of the way, then we have Monday coming starting on July 14th. No, not 14th, sorry, the 17th. July 17th is Monday. Sorry about that, guys. July 17th is going to come, okay? Tesla's likely going to be a lot lower, maybe a little bit lower by then. We're likely going to see Tesla rebound and start popping as we approach earnings. That's what Tesla typically does. And I think it's very likely it's going to start next week because it's going to be on Wednesday. And there's a good chance Tesla's going to do a lot of pushing to the upside as we approach Wednesday of the week after next week, or the week after this coming week, since Sunday is technically the first day of the week. Anyways, basically the week of earnings, which is going to be on July 19th, I think Tesla's going to get a very, very nice uptrend approaching it. Very decent looking one. This could be a very, very nice trade if you are looking to enter it. Depending on the news, it may not be like that bullish. It could just be like a little bit less than this. Maybe it goes up to like 275 or so, 277. Depending on how low we go, that's going to determine this a lot as well. But Tesla is very volatile. It does like to pop approaching earnings historically. That happens the majority of the time. And then when earnings come out, after Tesla gets this pop approaching earnings, it could go even higher depending on how much hype there is in the news, right? It could go even higher than this. Who knows how high it's going to go? But that doesn't really matter. I'm going to be watching depending on where we are by then. So let's just say Tesla gets this pop, it starts approaching, earnings. Where it moves after that is going to depend heavily on earnings, on guidance, and how their margins are looking. Margins are going to be the most important thing. Now, if Tesla beats EPS and revenue and their margins are decent and guidance is still very strong and investors are very excited, there's a good chance Tesla's going to gap up and just try to keep going for that 300. But if the opposite happens and we have some bad margins, guidance is not that great, Tesla could sink pretty low. And statistically, we do have a tendency of slowing down in July. We're only green about 42% of the time in July historically. This is what happened to Tesla since the time it went to IPO. It tends to be very slow in July historically. So I just want to warn you about that. October and July tend to be the weakest months of the year for Tesla, also February. So just be very, very careful knowing this. Now, what's more likely to happen, in my opinion? I know I'm going way ahead of myself, but I just want to give you guys a very, very nice update. I think, in my opinion, the odds favor downside for Tesla after earnings. And I'm starting to think this way because Tesla has been just screaming price cut, price cut, price cut, another discount referral program for Tesla. My question is, how are the margins looking? And if margins are bad, what is Tesla going to do about it? Are they going to start raising prices? Because if they do so, demand could slow down in some kind of economy like this because people are taking on liens, they're taking on loans, and it's kind of tricky with these interest rates. So people still have high demand for Teslas, but the question is, will Tesla maintain lower prices for longer to maintain that demand? And if the margins are even worse than before, and Tesla starts burning some cash, possibly, my question is, what is Wall Street going to do about it? Because Wall Street is starting to short Tesla more, betting something bad is going to happen. And if they do this, you have to remember, they're also going to be pouncing on Tesla if something bad happens. If margins are not that great, these shorts are going to be relentless. The media is going to scream like crazy. Tesla has bad margins. They lost this much money. It's not looking good. They're going to try to incite fear. So I'm just warning you to be very careful. It is more probable that this is going to happen more downside. This is what statistically happens in July, but it's not a guarantee. No promises because Tesla has a tendency of surprising us. Okay. So I just want to make this clear. I want you guys to know about this. Okay. I'm still a huge Tesla bull for the long term. For the long term, I'm very, very bullish on Tesla. I think it's going to go to all-time highs again. I think it's going to run to Cathie Wood's targets as well, go to thousands of dollars a share with these current amount of shares outstanding. But for the medium term, we have to be careful. You also have to remember that Elon Musk was saying that, in his eyes, the Fed is tightening too much. He said that if they keep raising rates, we're going to see a more severe recession. And if anything, Powell is saying that the Fed is going to keep on raising rates more and more. So Elon Musk could say some things that the investors may not want to hear. But remember, the long term of Tesla is very, very bright. We're super bullish long term with the Cybertruck coming. It's just that for the month of July in particular, things could slow down a bit if Elon Musk starts talking about the recession, things getting harder for Tesla. Us to be prepared for some shocks in the economy, macroeconomic factors, things like this could shake some investors. So just be very careful approaching earnings. All right. So this is like my broad view of Tesla. I don't want you guys to take this too seriously because it's impossible for me to predict the market for the next like 3, 4, 5 weeks. It's very difficult to do that because the market is super volatile. Every day I talk about all these different catalysts from like Fed speakers to, CPI data. Every single day there's something coming, or almost every single day. And there's all this news that comes out. So I can't really predict the news for the next few weeks, guys. I want to make that clear. But if I could give you guys an educated estimate, a projection of what's likely to come, I would say it's going to likely look something like this. Based off the current trend, based off this technical setup on Tesla, we may see some more downside approaching the end of this week. We may start sinking a bit, maybe fill a larger part of this gap. We may fill the entire gap or come just short of it. And then we make it a very nice bounce and a pump up approaching our earnings. Earnings is going to be on July 19th. It could be maybe a small pump, maybe it could be a lot bigger. Who knows? It really depends on the news and how investors react to it. But remember, Tesla does like to pump right before earnings. There's a good chance it's going to do something like this. Maybe not as hard, maybe not. We'll see. But just get my point. It's going to likely see some upside depending on where we go. There's also a possibility it doesn't sink that hard. It could stop like around 268 and then bounce. Then it could make its way back up to like 280 right before earnings. And then, like I said, the big move is coming. Whether Tesla gets a gap up and it just goes, it just smashes expectations and guidance is very strong. That's a possibility. Or if margins are really bad, which I think is very likely, we're not going to get the best margins with all these price cuts. Tesla had to do it for competition reasons and to get demand up. So Tesla had to do what they had to do. And if Elon Musk does not give the strongest guidance for the medium term, if he says things about the recession and this and that, which is very probable, that could slow Tesla down. But remember, the longer term, if you zoom out and look months ahead, years ahead, I'm still very bullish on Tesla. It's going to break all-time highs, guys. I'm still a mega Tesla bull. I'm just stating the facts about what's very likely with their margins, how their overall cash flow may be changing because of it, and what Tesla may do to try to raise more cash, right? That's something a lot of these companies tend to do right before recessions. We saw a lot of banks doing this, right? Doing lots of these like buybacks or potentially, changing their ways of going about things. When banks do this, they tend to do this because they want more cash at hand during recessions. That's what a lot of companies are trying to do, dilute prices as well. Uh, by doing it, by issuing more shares or doing anything like that, you know, that is what plays a big role in them raising cash during hardships like this. And that gives them leverage and more security during hard times, which are still very possible. So just be very careful for the next few weeks. They're going to be very wild for Tesla. And I just want to inform you guys about this, okay? Both of these are possible after earnings, but there's a little bit more likely of a chance that we're going to see this one play out, the downside. But like I said, always be prepared and be optimistic nonetheless because the long term is very bright. And I'm fine with anything. If it drops more, that's another buying opportunity. If it keeps pumping more, fine. We're going to make more money on our shares already. All right. So I just wanted to make this clear. Thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. Do what you have to do. And always be an intelligent investor by not letting your emotions get the best of you. All right. Tesla to the moon. The long term is very bright. And peace out.